Welcome to the latest episode of the Sonic Squeeze. Today we are talking about Beach House and their latest album, Thank Your Lucky Stars. I listened to the album.
So did I.
James?
Not today.
Really? I swear you listened to it today. My god, this album is dreamy as hell. Everything is soaked in reverb from the vocals, which are mixed kind of like they're up front. They're taking up most of the mix, along with the very lush electric guitars. The drums are kind of way back in the mix. Again, reverbed to death. And also I actually really liked the organ. It was a synth. It was an organ preset, but I liked it a lot.
The keyboards.
I'm going to say organ.
The organ keyboard synthesization mode device.
Yeah, it was mostly organ preset throughout the album. Majorette. James. Majorette.
It's got a good name.
I liked it.
Majorette.
Yeah, it was alright.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it was a name.
I think it sounds good.
It was kind of like...
Fuck you, air conditioning, once again.
Okay, so jumping into it, it had like a kick and snare intro, which was kind of not
the drums
what I expected
on this whole album are really dull. Like,
do you know what it is?
Wise,
it's just a drum machine. They have the same beat that you hear the beat at the beginning of the song. It's the damn same at the end of the song.
Not even that.
It's a glorified fucking metronome, is what it is.
There's no programming and no variation in it. They're also mixed, like, really, like you said, far back. They're barely there.
Yeah, glorified metronome.
You can barely hear the kick. The snare is so little weak behind everything. And it's just, I was just like, every time it's like got a drum bit, I'm just sitting there like, there's nothing happening. Why are you doing this to me?
Me personally, with Majorette, I quite liked the guitar picking throughout the song.
The slow up was very nice.
Yes, yeah.
Was very nice.
I liked the general sound of the song.
There were some good melodies.
Chimes. Freddie.
But it wasn't doing anything like interesting enough to like.
It did get quite repetitive.
Yeah.
But the vocal backing throughout the outro, I really liked.
Yep.
It was very simple, which you get across like throughout the entire album. It's very simple, it's very repetitive. It's progressive to an extent, depending on each song. But this kind of introduced what you're going to expect throughout the whole album.
I'll definitely go along with that.
Yeah.
However,
as in,
it may have introduced the entire album in one song.
Yes. A little bit.
Listen to that first song, and don't bother carrying on.
Whoa!
You've got it. You got it down. You got the whole album. Maybe apart from.
I would at least tell them to listen to a better song.
Yeah,
As the one song you listen to.
Listen to some other song.
Yeah.
Which song in particular
I would
you
say
tell them to listen to?
Okay, so I would say, personally,
Yep.
The Traveller would be my song of choice.
Same. Yeah, The Traveller was by far the best song in the entire album.
Okay.
And although, well, basically, when I listened to The Traveller, I was like, this is really good. This is like an 8 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I got along with that.
It's got like a really full sound right from the start, so it doesn't really develop, but it doesn't get boring either. At least for me, it didn't. And yeah, the way that the verse kind of flowed immediately into the chorus and didn't even give you like time to even realize it was a chorus.
That song, The Traveller, is the only song in the entire album that took me by surprise. I was listening to the whole album, nothing was like grabbing my attention. That song came on and I was like, I'm listening to an album again. This is like awesome and creative, and it actually like, you know when you hear a song for the first time, one, you want it to catch you by surprise, you want it to be something you've not heard before, and you want it to kind of inspire you in some way musically, if you're musically minded, which we try to be. But that song had it.
I usually fail, but I try.
Yeah, same. That's why we review them.
One thing, 2 songs before it, although I knew it wasn't as good, I really enjoyed it. And I can't tell you why.
I thought that was one of the worst songs on the album.
I knew that you would have thought that.
Which song?
One Thing.
One Thing, yeah.
Track 4.
Yeah, you see what I put here? One Thing is how I would describe their style.
Yeah.
They just do one thing.
slow.
The song is the same in the first 30 seconds as it is in any other point in the song.
Nothing happens throughout the song. It wasn't bad. I don't think any of the songs in this album were like awful. There was no song in this album that I listened to and was like, I don't like listening to this. It all had a nice sound, and I could put this album on in the background and just have it on, and it's a nice sound that you can just. It's easy listening.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That you'd have to like that sound
But there
a
were-
lot to want to listen to this
that,
album.
That is why I like that one song, because the vocal pattern was amazing, in my opinion. The melody, at least. But it just suited the vibe, which I kind of expected. Because I'd heard about this band. I'd listened to some of their stuff before. I hadn't listened to any of their albums in full before. I've heard a lot of people talk about them, and I had an idea of what the sound was going to be. And that song kind of encapsulated how I wanted it to sound. Despite the fact that I didn't think it was an incredibly interesting song. I thought the outro was really good. I really liked the guitar that really set apart everything else, because the entire song kind of had one thing going for it throughout the entire thing, and then right at the end there's just a lead guitar which comes in, which is completely different, really distorted, really high pitched as well.
I feel like the problem with that though is that happens on a lot of the songs where they'll have like a lead guitar come in near the end.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where through listening to this album you really get a pattern, and you can see what they're doing in every pattern. And I don't think their pattern was that good either. I think one of the big problems of this album has, you mentioned it's progressive, and it was, and I kind of like some of the songs that were progressive and had some of the things, but a lot of these songs don't do enough within the progression. And a lot of them crescendo at quite a nice, satisfying point. But there's too much of nothing before we get there. And each of the individual parts, like the drums and then whatever first synth they have and then the guitar stuff, most songs, each individual part isn't strong enough to make up for how long it takes to progress.
Yeah, the songwriting isn't there. It's not good enough. And they're not even that good technically playing their instruments. It's just kind of dull. They're not doing anything
But I
amazing.
feel as though when you come across as doing something very simple, very minimal, like the number of things going on in one song is always single figure kind of margin here. And what you need to do if you're going to do that route and get it coming across well is that when you introduce a new thing, that new thing needs to be the best thing. It needs to sound as good as possible if it's only going to be that one thing throughout the whole song.
And everything needs to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
All Your Years. This song was one of my favourite songs for a while, but I was really fucking disappointed in it because it didn't go anywhere. It had so much potential.
Do you know what it was? It was a bad Tycho song.
Yeah.
It was a bad Tycho song.
I feel like the ding,
When I heard it, I was like, oh, this is quite nice. I quite like this. I can see where this is going. But when you listen to Tycho, there's so much progression, and that guitar part's always changing, always adding new bits, always building into a bigger, more complicated art. But this, it was just sort of there.
Yeah, this one had a more interesting vocal performance from Victoria Legrand. It had she was actually her voice. She was doing more singing. The lyrics were more important. They weren't just adding sort of like a color and a feel to the song, which is what I felt like it was doing in a lot of the other ones. And then it gets to the end of the song, and you think, oh, it could go into something quite like heavy here.
Yeah, and big.
Like, when I say heavy, I mean like intense. But it doesn't.
Falls heavy.
And you know what came in? You know what came in? It was a keyboard that really didn't add anything.
Yeah.
And then later on, an organ came in, and it was really subtle. But that subtle organ did more than this keyboard, which came in and was meant to be the I'm a keyboard, hear me roar. And it just didn't.
There's a
nothing.
lot of points in this album where they try and put something in and go, this is going to be the big thing, the next big part of the progression, and like a synth will come in, and it's not a very interesting good synth. And they're obviously trying to make it bigger, but rather than producing it better, they just sort of put it up more in the mix and go, there we go.
It's like you hear them, they bring in a new thing, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll wait for the next 4 bars to go along, see if something comes along there. Oh,
and
okay,
none of the
it
things
doesn't.
which they're trying to add need to kind of really grab you and take you by surprise.
Boy, surprise.
Because their style is to kind of be laid back and chilled, but it still needs to be like musically interesting as well as progressing while all of this thing is happening.
Okay.
And I just feel as though it doesn't really grab my attention every time.
Common Girl.
Common Girl.
What do you think of Common Girl?
This is one thing that Common Girl and another track on this album had, although the other track I like better. Fade-ins and fade-outs in 2015. Like, can't you think of a better way to open and close your song than just pull in a fader up?
I thought that Common Girl was the second worst song on the album.
I'm down with that.
I said here, if I liked this song at all, in brackets, and I'm not sure that I did, it's because the synth in the beginning sounds like a mixture between a harpsichord and the synth from Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds.
I really dislike the synth.
It
went on for a while being the main thing. And there's another song later on that does that as well. Elegy to the Void. It does the same thing. It uses a synth to grab your attention. But the Common Girl synth, it got annoying after about 20 seconds.
Elegy to the Void is the other one that has the fade in that I was mentioning, but I prefer that one because the synth is nicer.
Well. Yeah, exactly.
It's just,
it is.
Elegy to the Void feels like Common Girl, but done better, how it should be done.
Yeah.
I wrote here that it was one of my favourites on the album.
Which one? Common Girl?
Elegy to the Void.
Oh, Elegy to the Void, yeah, same.
Yeah, especially the last half of it.
Yes.
I said with the kind of instrumental, and I said guitar solo, if you could call it a guitar solo.
Again, though, it
was crazy.
A lot of these songs get to satisfying places, but they just don't get there well enough. And this one was one of the ones where getting there still wasn't as good, but it wasn't as boring as some of the other ones. And when it got to the nice place, you were like, yeah, this is a nice song now.
The problem that I found with that song was that although it was enjoyable and each section that was introduced was good, it was 6 minutes.
It was a long song.
It was a long song. If there were any songs on here that started to drag, it was definitely that one.
Yeah.
Just because, and also the fade out lasted for 40 seconds.
Oh my God.
And they basically were just playing the same thing for that 40
you
seconds.
think of a better way than fading in and fading out in 2015, damn it.
Okay, rough song.
I think that was the worst on the album.
Yeah, I literally had nothing interesting to say about it at all.
What I wrote is nothing happens. Because it doesn't.
Yeah, it was dull.
Sets up a thing and then it just goes, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, that's a bit shit. And it goes, well, we're doing it.
Rough Song was the point for me. Because, as I'd said, each song, it was slightly different, but it sounded pretty much like the same song. By the time that it got to Rough Song, that was where I was like, okay, this is just another song. And it doesn't have anything more to add. It's just another song similar to all of the ones prior to it. And that was the big thing. That was the thing that grabbed my attention. It was the fact that it didn't grab my attention. Also, that's what it was.
The whole sound of the album is so depressing. Like, I know it's meant to be, and you can't exactly criticize it badly for that, but for me it was like I was probably just not in the right frame of mind to handle it at the time. It was just like bugging me and actually just getting me down.
I didn't think it was necessarily depressing.
Just the whole sound of it.
I thought it was haunting. And I thought that it
Great
was...
kind of critique word. The vocals were haunting. Sublime.
Yet sublime. I thought that Somewhere Tonight, was that the final track?
Yes.
I think it was, yeah. The final track, I thought that was the worst song.
Well, really? I read here, OMG, Somewhere Tonight just had me begging for the end.
I liked that song. I thought I thought it was good.
That could mean anything.
I felt as though once it started, other than the organ, everything that was introduced within the first 30 seconds of the song was literally the only thing that happened for the next 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
The organ seemed to be the only thing that changed, except for like a lead guitar part which would come in and out. But that was at the beginning of the song as well.
It definitely didn't have strong progression, I'll agree with that. But I thought the points that were there were quite nice. I liked the string line it had. I thought the synth melodies were pretty cool. I enjoyed it, but I didn't think any of it was great.
Favourite song on the album, Gareth?
Favourite song on the album?
Favourite.
She's So Lovely.
Aw, that's nice. Not the song. Just the idea.
Yeah, I didn't think that was.
I think my top 3 songs for this album were She's So Lovely, Elegy to the Void.
I like the keys that go throughout She's So Lovely, but that's it. James, favourite song on the album? Traveller, you've already said that.
Yeah.
Same here.
I'd
Traveller
also
was...
say All Your Years and One Thing.
Okay.
And if...
Oh, I thought you were saying and one thing.
And one thing as well. I would also want to add Majorette in there as well. But only because that was the first time that you heard any of the songs.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, look, it's something new.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I heard that, and then I heard She's So Lovely and just thought it was like the same but slightly better. And then I was like, yeah, it's like the Rudimental album did. I was like, the first two songs are basically the same thing, but the second one's slightly better. And then after I listened to the whole album, I was like, a lot of it was the same thing.
Yeah. This album definitely had a sound.
Yeah.
If
you like that sound, you'll fucking love this album.
Yeah. Like, I find their music too simplistic. If you really enjoy the kind of dreamy pop aesthetic, then, you know, this is for you. But pretty much that's all there is for me. It doesn't inspire or excite me in any way.
You know what I found quite interesting that I've literally only just realised? My two favourite songs were track 4 and track 6. So they were basically right centred around the middle.
Yeah.
And then it goes downhill. And it kind of starts uphill. So if I were to listen to the album for the first time with the track order reversed, I reckon I would rate it in the other way around and just be like, hey, yeah, they're doing some interesting stuff because it's like a new sound.
You know,
and then by the end of the album, I'd be like, wow, they're just doing the same sound.
that is an interesting point, yeah.
It feels
It's
to
so
me
much the
as
same that by
though-
the time you get to the end, you've already heard it done.
Yeah, but it feels as though the songs don't necessarily need to suit a particular order. At least from what I've just
That's because
described.
there's no, it's all one big a song. Marks out of 10.
I'm torn between a 5 and a 6. I'm going to give it a 6 just because I really enjoy this vibe of music.
Okay.
But that is pushing a 6. That's pushing a 6.
Okay, I can see where you'd come at that from. James?
Gareth?
Sorry, we were talking about swapping seats just to annoy you, the loving audience. And it's in my head now.
I agree with James. It was right on the border of 5 and 6 to me, but I'm just going to say strong 5.
Okay. For me personally, I was going to give it a 3 out of 10, but I liked The Traveller so much, it's brought itself up to a 4. So that's a 4 out of 10 from me.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. That'll be wonderful. And if you want to watch some more of our videos, then hit that subscribe button. That'd be pretty sweet. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Good night. Goodbye. Bye.
All right, predictions.
Yeah. I predicted,
and I said I thought I'd got your prediction wrong, and I was right. I originally predicted you to give this a 7 because I thought you would think the same things as us, but I thought you'd like the aesthetic enough that you'd be like, I'd give this a good mark. You, I thought you'd give it a 6,
Interesting.
and I thought I would give
If I were to predict your predictions, I would have said that you'd give him